Hello and welcome to the video. Today we're going to have a look at using motion capture data on your advanced skeleton rig. One of the reasons you would do this is to add some finer polish to a bunch of motion capture data that you have cleaned up. Sometimes you have issues with the HIK rig that don't allow you to really edit the feet all that well. An advanced skeleton is just a much nicer system to edit animation data with. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The first thing you need to do is import, not open, but import your model. So this is an advanced skeleton rig that you've already created. We're going to import it in, and if you look down here with the namespaces, you can set a custom namespace. Naming conventions are really important with this motion capture data in advanced skeleton. So we're going to set a custom one. I've set ADV for advanced skeleton, and as you can see when it comes in, everything has ADV at the front of it. This helps the animation picker to pick up on specifically what rig we're using, and it will be really helpful when we're matching names. I'm also going to import our mocap data. I have it here as my binary file. That's because I was using some students' mocap data, and they'd left in a HIK rig and a character, and that's all mucky. So I deleted all of that out, and I'll now import in the saved file that was just the skeleton and call it mocap. So both of our two imports come in with a custom namespace at the front. One says mocap and the other one says ADV. And you can see now we have our mocap skeleton alongside our advanced skeleton rig. Okay, so now with both of our appropriately named imports, we can go ahead, open the picker, and open up the mocap matcher. And this is going to require a left and a right side. The left side is your advanced skeleton rig, which it should auto-detect because we use namespaces. And the right-hand side, where it says other, is looking for your mocap skeleton. In the templates, you will see a bunch of different kind of presets for character creator, Mixamo, motion builder, and if you're lucky, one of them will fit perfectly with your mocap rig. Most of the time, I tend to find it doesn't, and I'll just go and create my own custom template. You need to check on your skeleton as to whether it says right or R for the left and right sides, and write that in appropriately. You can also check the box to specify whether the name comes before or after the left and right side, as well as if it uses underscores. So I'm checking mine, and right comes before elbow, so I can see that mine is correct. I mean, it should be. I set this up earlier, so I'd be surprised if there were any issues with it. And I can just check some of my joints here and just make sure that it's all correct. So this template, I essentially just picked one of the presets and exported it. And then I open up that file and edit it there. You can edit it within Advanced Skeleton, but it's kind of slow. So we're just going to export out the Rococo here and just give it a name. I'll call it test. And then we can locate where that was saved. You can find that with your export button. You can copy and paste this into File Explorer to take you straight there. So I'm going to open that up and find the file. And then we have test down the bottom. So if I double click that, I can have a look at what's in there. And the first thing I can see is that it's got a bunch of fingers. My rig doesn't have any fingers because I didn't use Mocap gloves, so I can just delete them out. I can then check each and every one of these positions, not positions, joint names, and edit them and make it so that my template is correct. And this means you won't have to do this again. It will always be accurate whenever you use this this type of mocap data. If you do it actually in Advanced Skeleton, it's very, very slow, and I don't recommend. So just export a file and create your template just to save you a bunch of time. Okay, so now we are more or less ready to go. There may be some hiccups, but we can see our picker is picking up our correct rig, and it's auto-populated some of these areas on the left side. So we can double check that if we want, but that should be just about perfect because we imported and used the namespace. So check our right-hand side, and just a few more steps to do. So currently our skeleton hasn't been picked up, so we can select it and click detect from selected, and it will pick up the mocap namespace that I gave it on the import. So let's scan our skeleton, which also checks for the namespaces, and all seems good. And then we move down the list of boxes here and go from one to the next. Sometimes this will flip the legs or something if you've got some issues with your rig, in which case you can skip that step, but I recommend doing it and checking to see if it breaks the legs. Ours didn't break, so now we can move on to the next step and clicking our rig to FK and then connect to Mocap Skeleton, and as you can see we get an error message. And it's always good to read this. So this is looking for mocap head. So mocap being the namespace, head being the name of the joint, and we have called it head, and our namespace is mocap. So that shouldn't be happening. Let's have a little look. So mocap is there. Let's try putting the top node in. Scan it. Try again. Nope, it's still happening. So I've probably got some issue in my namespaces. You can see here I have BVH as a separate namespace in there, and I didn't pick up on that earlier. So the top level says mocap, but underneath there it has BVH as well. So I'm going to have to go in Windows, General Editors, open up my namespace editor, and this will show you all namespaces in your scene, and there is BVH. So we need to get rid of this. So if I just... Let's have a little check on our error message, and it essentially is telling you what's wrong. It's telling you that mocap head is expected, and actually what we have is mocap BVH head. So let's delete that and merge with root. So it should now say mocap head, or have mocap at the top at least. I've actually removed mocap as a namespace, so I might have to scan the hierarchy again. So detect, doesn't pick up any namespace, but that's okay. So if we scan again, 0 again, and connect, and no red message. Give it a moment to process. You can see the little blue bar going at the bottom, and let's, good. We're good to go. So that was my error. It can sometimes feel as though you're fighting against Advanced Skeleton, but really, I mean, it's a complex system looking for thousands of different name checks. And if you don't name it correctly, it's kind of on you. It sucks when it's breaking on you and you're spending a lot of time trying to fix it. But really, what it's doing is comparing thousands of names and just checking that they're correct. And if you've spelt things wrong or put the wrong things in a box, that's kind of on you. I wish it was a little bit smoother, this whole thing, but the reality is if you go through and name things right, it should just work. So I guess the top tip is when you're about to do this, check your namespace editor first. Just see what's in your scene and make sure that if you're using any namespaces, they're accounted for in your right-hand column in the Mocap matcher. But now we can actually move our skeleton on top of the Mocap data. Although I haven't baked it yet, so actually if I'm going to move any of these joints, it's going to be fighting against the original skeleton that it's following. So before we actually make any edits, we'll have to bake this down. And we can do this in the Mocap matcher or even in the Mocap library, or we could bake it using Maya's own bake systems. Before I bake, I'm going to put the legs into IK. So if I just select the IK controller in the picker and go to anim and switch IKFK, then I can put these into IK, and when I bake down, it will bake it down into an IK foot setup, so I can control the feet using IK and transfer all of the Mocap data onto the feet, which is pretty powerful and something that you can't do in Motion Builder. So as you see now, I can use the foot roll controller, even though this is also following the motion capture data. Okay, so let's bake this down and have a look at what's going on there. Pretty straightforward, single button click, especially as we've already changed our feet to IK. So now you can see all of our glorious keys, millions of them. And if we select our foot, we'll be able to add some foot roll, and you'll notice there are no keys on foot roll, whereas there are on the foot. And that's because foot roll isn't something that generally features in an FK rig. And we've switched these legs to IK, so only the translate and rotate have keys on them because they can contain all of the FK mocap data. But now, on top of that, we can select our foot roll and it will be free of any keys, and we can kind of animate on top. And this data has not been cleaned by the looks of it. So it's a little bit wonky, but now I have IK control. I can go in and tidy this up super easily, particularly as I've got IK control inside of Advanced Skeleton. So I can take these square feet and start adding in a little bit of foot roll to help with the springiness. I'll just key a couple of moves here. And yeah, there's a lot of editing left to do on this yet. However, having those IK feet to be able to edit this that's a massive win. Okay, I guess that covers everything for now. So as a quick recap, the important points were: make sure to import your Advanced Skeleton rig, not open, and import your mocap data. With your mocap data, make sure that it's just the skeleton. It could handle having other elements in there, like a character model or a HIK rig, but you're increasing the risk of something going wrong. So I would say delete all of that out and just bring in your clean mocap skeleton. Step 2 is make sure that you give appropriate namespaces when you're doing this. So with your mocap data, it might be worth calling it mocap. And with your advanced skeleton rig, give it something like I did with the ADV, some kind of moniker that allows you to recognize it as your rig. Once they're both imported, then you need to open up your mocap matcher and either load up a template. Mine was the XN's motion capture system, so I loaded up a template I'd already made. Or if you don't have a template, then export one of the others out, open the file and rename it to make it make sense. Once that's all present and correct, you can go through the list of options. So scanning the skeleton and zeroing things out, setting the rig to FK, and then connecting. And if connection doesn't happen, open up your error message and just see what it's saying, because you might have an error message like I had in the video where it's basically saying I'm looking for this and I can't find it. And in my case, it was because I had two namespaces, one of which was BVH. At this point, go back into your namespace editor and just delete anything that's not needed. If you do have to do that step, then make sure to rescan your skeleton and go back through and repeat your steps. At that point, you should, fingers crossed, you should have an advanced skeleton rig that is following the mocap data. If you want to have IK foot control, take it back to frame 0. Inside the picker, go to anim and then switch the FK-IK button on both of the feet. And if that all looks good, then bake it down and you are ready to animate. Cool. I hope that helps. It certainly is a useful process for me when I want to add some polish to some mocap data. But I hope that helps you too. And yeah, I guess if there are any other follow-up things that I think of that kind of relate to this process, I can make another video. But for the time being, I think that's us done here. So have a lovely day and I'll see you in the next one.